Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the weekly Daily podcast with your host, myself, Ben Dailey. It's good to be here. I'm in a different place. You probably noticed. I'm at my parents' house in Virginia, visiting after doing a comedy festival, doing a little post-Christmas holiday visit. It's a very rainy day. Very dreary. I did not want to get up, but this is the only time my parents are out of the house for the next couple of days. And boy, do I not want to be talking to myself with company. So here I am. I'm in, I don't know if you can hear, there's a clock in the room that is unbelievably loud. I don't understand what it is with older individuals and clocks that have very loud noises, but the stereotype rings true. It's not a grandfather clock, it's just a clock. One of the normal clocks, and it's just. Let's hope that the power of editing audio will eliminate that. If not, you guys are going to hear that every second for the next 45 minutes. So stay tuned for that beautiful stuff. You might notice um I didn't bring my normal setup, the microphone and my other recorder, so we'll see how this comes out. This should be good, but I don't think I've ever used it for the full podcast. So we'll see. I feel all out of sorts. I don't have my headphones in, so I hear myself speak, which is pretty obnoxious. So bless y'all's heart for listening to me. I don't know how you do it. I'm very tired, man. It's hard to get up when it's raining and overcast. Today in the forecast it's supposed to be nasty. My parents were telling me about that. And living in Colorado, you get spoiled because there'll be rain sometimes, but there's a ton of sun, and when rain does come, it's usually like for an hour or something, so it's not around for very long. But to know like, oh, the next full day is going to be a lot of rain, you can't go outside, it's going to be gross. I feel like a politician. I don't know what to do with my hands. Does this help the podcast if I animate my hand? I usually animate one hand, I guess. But with two, it's too much. I don't know what to do. But just got up. I wanted to keep sleeping in, but like I said, I had to get it in. Thanks for being here, guys. I'm gonna get over the sound of my own voice shortly, and we're gonna talk about the real juicy stuff. Okay? And the juicy stuff I would like to start on is, guys, I think I figured it out. I think I figured out what's wrong with me. Apart from just being an idiot, I think what I've figured out, if you've listened to the past podcast, is what in the heck is going on with my throat. And to catch you up to speed, if you didn't listen to the last one, or if you forgot, the last couple weeks I've been having issues. I've noticed on stage having issues my with my throat, and like having to swallow a bunch on stage, and just kind of a tightness in my throat, and it's really been throwing me off. If I'm being honest with you guys, the last week or two, my confidence level has really been tested. Not just tested, I've gone through some little lulls where I'm like, am I able to do this? And let me tell you what, that happens whether it's comedy or anything else in life. You go through those doubts. Your confidence levels might not be uh, as high as you would like. But yesterday or the day before, I think I figured out what's going on, and it makes me feel good to know that, okay, something is going on, which I knew already, but also people are like, maybe it's in your head. Is your throat tightening up? And I'm like, I don't, I'm not nervous to go up to an open mic. Excuse me. I'm not nervous to go up to an open mic. It's just like my throat is just tight. And when I go up there, it's when you're public speaking, comedy, whatever, when you're like in front of a bunch of people, if you have voice issues or struggles, it really kind of messes with your performance in general, but then can certainly start to mess with your mind as well. So, what it is, the big reveal, guys, and look, I'll say this, I'm not a doctor, but I have started a degree at YouTube University. So, pretty much a doctor, I guess, at this point. And I think it's what they call, I think it's LPR or silent reflux. There you have it, guys. Figured it out. No, what it is, and it makes sense. I'll explain it a little bit, but I was thinking maybe it was GERD or like acid reflux, but then I looked into a couple more things because GERD, as far as I understand it, or acid reflux, it's like when your stomach acid starts coming back up into your esophagus, and one of the main symptoms I think is like heartburn, and I'm not getting heartburn. I've been eating very healthy, so just to have any sort of issues is kind of a bummer, but that's life. And but for me, it's in the throat. And what I realized was, okay, I've got this pain in the throat, swallowing a bunch, kind of tightness. I'm burping up my meals like way after I eat them, and they're not even, it's like healthy meals. And you like 4 or 5 hours later, you're like, why am I burping up whatever I'm eating? Um, and what LPR is, difference between GERD and LPR, or silent reflux, is it's not the acid coming up from your stomach into your esophagus or your throat. It is, uh, it's like the peptides and maybe bile, some different stuff in more of a gas form, I think. So it brings those up and usually concentrate in the throat area, uh, as far as where the pain and symptoms are. So you don't get the heartburn, and then you get the throat stuff. Now, what's the solution? Well, it's not like a quick fix, take a pill, blah blah blah. So we'll see how over the next couple weeks, hopefully I can manage it and get in control. But a couple things. I feel like this is no longer a podcast. This is just a lecture on LPR. So if you guys, the 7 people out there that are struggling. Oh, look at that. Neighbor's cat is prowling in the yard. It's weird. Being in the city with a lot of people have cats, but they're indoor cats. So to see like outdoor cats just roaming the garden in the big yard is it's a different vibe. Outdoor cats, man. That's where they came from. I don't know if you guys knew this, but we took them from the outside and we said, "You're cute. You stay inside now. You're nice and fluffy. I like to touch you and pet you. You come inside now. You come inside. There's a litter box. I put a lot of little pebbles together. You poop in that. You do that, okay? Yeah, yeah. I like hearing it when you purr, but not outside. You come inside. That's what we did. When did we domesticate? Is that the word? I don't know. Do you guys know that? Leave a comment. When were cats domesticated? If I had to guess, honestly, I wouldn't. It feels like they were domesticated a long time ago, but also it's like I don't think people had cats in the 15, 16, 1700s. Did they? But they must have been domesticated a long time ago. There weren't wild cats. You don't hear about that. You're like, yeah, the Revolutionary War was wild. But while we were in our little camps waiting for the next battle, little wild cats would come up and we get to pet them. And that was pretty cool. You never hear that. Cats in it's like they must have been domesticated in the 70s. Where were they found? No clue. Here's my official guess. I'm going to say cats were domesticated before Jesus. I'm going to say uh, BC. I'm going to go 500 BC. Some random Grecian, a person from Greece nabbed a cat outside, and now we got little kitty cats, guys. Every cat that I ever had growing up, which you know, I think we had two. Can't remember the first one's. I think the first one's name was just Kitty, and then the second one was named Stormy, but we just called her Kitty as well. Kitty got cancer in both ears. They had to cut them off. Didn't look like a cat anymore. You guys think cats are cute? Cut their ears off. They look weird. There's just a little fact for you guys in case you were curious. Anyways, that was a cat tangent I wasn't expecting to go on. But LPR, the solution for the throat issues, is, as I understand it, removing acidic foods. So I've been eating a lot of onions, balsamic vinegar, certain things, and I'm like, okay, that adds up maybe. I need to maybe take some probiotics, and it's one of those things where it's like it can be from just a bad diet, but I'm eating a very healthy diet. So I think it's a combination of a bunch of things that where I just have to get my gut health in check. So maybe some more probiotics. Um, I I'm off coffee. Coffee and tea are acidic and not good, but I stopped. Literally, this started happening basically when I stopped drinking coffee, which is like the saddest thing ever. Where you're like, I cut out a main culprit and then you started to bother me. Oh wow, that's great. But I'm assuming maybe that just messed even more with the pH of my gut. And if the somehow, I don't know. Again, I'm studying at YouTube University. I don't have my bachelor's yet, but according to the 7-minute class I took last night, aka one video, that's my best guess. But then getting rid of a lot of the acidic stuff, I think I'm not eating enough calories. So I need to eat more. I think that might be playing into it. But also, all those things to try to just get rid of the issue in general. But I watched a video, which is encouraging, of a guy who had like a quick fix type thing, which especially for doing comedy and having this affect me, this solution I think will be very helpful. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But he basically he said you can take like alkaline water, alkalinic. That's not a word. Alkaline water that has a you know pH of 9.5 or whatever they are, and then you mix in baking soda, which has a substance that uh, the peptides that I mentioned that come up from your stomach to your throat. That's what's apparently bothering your throat in LPR or silent reflux. They come up in your throat and they can be activated and reactivated for like days and days. Even after they've come up and maybe nothing else comes up, they can be reactivated in your throat by, I think, coffee, tea, just acidic stuff. And the baking soda has some sort of chemical in it or whatever you call it. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it like provides a anti inflammatory. I don't know. It connects with the peptide and makes it go bye bye. That's that's the best way I can describe it. My words are not good. Bye bye to peptide with the baking powder, baking soda. I gotta look up. I always get those mixed up. One time I made waffles with one versus the other, baking soda instead of baking powder, or baking powder instead of baking soda. And apparently that's a pretty important ingredient because they looked weird. I don't think they like expanded how they were supposed to. So it was like little flat pancake waffles. they tasted okay, but it's really hard to mess up the taste. But I tried my best. Anyways, you put the baking soda or baking powder into the alkaline water into a spray bottle, shake it up, and then spray it into your mouth to kind of get back into your throat. So we'll see. I'm gonna try to pick some of that stuff up here shortly, and I am interested and excited to see if that helps. So I'll keep you guys updated. I really, I would love to talk about just banter. I would love to talk about just cats, and be like, what do you guys, when were they domesticated? Let's spend 45 minutes on the history of cats and kittens. But for some reason, my health and body are fighting against me, and I have to, you know, I have to talk about it. Okay, guys? It's very much on my mind when every night I go do stand up and I go, why do I have to swallow every 10 seconds? And then you're trying to pretend like you're not. And the audience is like, we can see you. We're looking at you. And then I'm like, but I'm funny, right? And they're like, we don't know because we're just watching you swallow. Anyways, you guys, if you're watching the video, I did not bring a razor on this trip to my parents. I say this a lot, and I don't say this. It's been a minute since I've grown my mustache out, but usually when I grow it out and I mention it, people go, "Oh, we didn't even notice." That's how bad my mustache is. But it's coming in. I'm a real man now, and I just want to acknowledge that in case you guys are looking like, how has he not mentioned the fact that he has 17 little whiskers on his face? I'm very much debating when I get home, obviously shaving the mustache, but also very much considering shaving my head. It's been a long time. It won't look good, but honestly, for the first time in like a decade plus since the last time I buzzed my hair when I had Lyme disease, I very much feel like this is gonna sound, you know, kooky a little bit, but I I'm assuming this is what the thought is in my head, but for me, in my entire life, basically buzzing my hair a lot of times has been like a rebirth in a sense where you're like, let me like start fresh and just, I know I'm not going to look good, but I want to just like start fresh. And I wonder, I think part of that is like when I'm really in my head about stuff, like back when I did it over a decade ago, all I'm thinking about is like, what's wrong with me? I didn't know I had Lyme yet. So I buzzed my hair. I've probably done it. I did it plenty before that as well, but now I'm very in my head about just the whole LPR stuff, um, and just that leading to being on stage and not being as comfortable and having doubt and just whatever. I feel like buzzing will be a reset in general, but also even if I look weird and goofy, maybe be like a reason to get my thoughts out of my head on those subjects. So it's like, oh, if I'm out in public, instead of being like, oh, my throat is killing me, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. If I shave my head, my thoughts will be like, oh my gosh, people are looking at me and I look weird. So I guess I guess I'm still a little bit in my head, but at least it's just on my appearance, not on why is my throat doing the things that it's doing. That's my assumption. That's, again, I'm going to YouTube University. I didn't watch a video, but I imagine there's a video out there about the psychology of buzzing your hair on purpose when you know it's not going to look good, to help you stop thinking about certain things. But we'll see. I need to get a new pair of glasses too. I want to just kind of like start 2024 fresh, looking weird, seeing how thin my hair is when I cut it. We'll see. Either I'm going to buzz it or I'm going to go really, really short actual haircut. We'll see. Leave a comment. Don't leave a comment. I know what you guys are going to say. If you leave a comment, you're going to say, don't cut it. You know what? It's my life. It's my life. What song is that? It's now or never. Um, but let's get into like why I'm here. Not why I'm here, my parents, but um, a little bit why I'm here because I did a festival that's close by. Man, I got a itchy nose. Clearing my. It's interesting doing the double hand uh politician thing here. Having this. I hope this sounds good. Let me know, guys. Also, let me know in the comments, does this sound good? Because honestly, this connects directly to the video, and then I don't have to do any editing, and you know, that's pretty awesome. I do like having, I feel like holding the mic is very much like a crutch. It makes you feel like you're, I feel like naked up here. With the mic, I feel very, clothed. So, anyways, reason I'm here, I did a festival in Bristol, Virginia, the Blue Ridge Comedy Festival, which was a good time. I was there for a handful of days. To uh, flew out to Bristol, which is a smaller area. It's like it's on the border of Tennessee and Virginia. So like half my hotel was in Virginia. The club, I can't remember. I think was in Tennessee, but literally the street, the like main street, main strip where the club is, which was kind of the downtown spot. I think like one side is Virginia, the other side is Tennessee, which is very interesting as a city. There's plenty of cities that are right on the border, and when it comes to like different states having different laws and just different laws in general, but especially for business, it's like a very weird, like taxes and this and that. It's like, what? I gotta pay this tax, but the dude 27 feet that way is no tax. I don't know. That's an uh, interesting vibe that I've never experienced, never lived right on the border there, and had to deal and fully understand like what the day-to-day effects of that. I'm sure it's not huge, but also it's probably a little bit weird. There were a lot of jokes from local comedians about stuff like that. I guess certain recreational drugs are legal in one state versus the other. Uh, certain medical procedures are legal in one, not legal in the other. There's a couple of things that people were commenting, and I'm like, oh, that is, I guess if you live there day to day, it is kind of part of the conversation. But yeah, I flew out of Denver. Yeah, when did I fly out? Wednesday morning. It was a very early flight, like 6 a.m. flight. It was snowing a little bit in Denver. I was like, oh gosh, do not delay the flight because I have a layover. But took a flight, American Airlines. I don't even know. People ask like what carrier do you usually fly? They'll ask me that. People will ask others that sometimes, and I just pick whatever's the cheapest. I'm not ever like on the same one. It's just like what's the cheapest. And I don't think I've been on American in a while, but what I'll say is I'm so used to flying on crappy carriers. American had They didn't even have TV. They didn't even have much. What they had were outlets to plug in your electronics, which I didn't even need. But I remember sitting down looking at it and being like, ooh, this is fancy. Outlets. I also sat directly beside the bathroom, which I was in the very middle of the plane. I don't think I've ever been on a plane where it's usually the lavatory in the front and the back. This was in the front and the back and in the middle. So it's literally like the row of three seats where I was, and then instead of the row of three seats on my left, it's just a bathroom. And I was in the aisle too, so I was like 2 feet. I'm like, I'm gonna hear people using the bathroom the whole time. But fortunately, it was a light flight. I had the row to myself, so I moved over and had a full. I mean, it didn't really. I guess it's nice. You can sit like this if you want with your arms expanded. But I didn't do that. I slept a little bit. I felt good. It's been interesting. I felt totally comfortable in the flight. A lot of times I get anxiety, but I felt very calm and at ease. And it's strange because this whole throat stuff that I'm talking about has made me mentally um a little bit doubt myself and not feel the confidence just due to physical stuff that's going on that I can't uh prevent. I'm going on stage, and just like if your voice doesn't work, that's a very big part of it. But in all other areas, I'm feeling very, I think the diet, other than hurting my throat, I think mentally I've felt well. I didn't feel anxious. I feel very comfortable, and word recollection, a lot of stuff like that with banter, and just meeting people, new people at the festival, and in general, I'm feeling good. So it's a weird oxymoron where it's like I feel mentally good in this one place, which almost always usually translates to like, hey, if I'm comfortable and confident off stage, I'm going to be comfortable and confident on stage. But this specific instance, I'm feeling comfortable and confident, little to no anxiety off stage, but because my voice, like in conversation one on one with people, I'm still having to swallow, but it's not a huge deal because you just swallow and it's whatever. But on stage, it's so much more noticeable when you're having to swallow every 10-15 seconds, and they can hear it into the microphone sometimes. It's almost impossible to hide it so they don't know. And when you have 100 people sitting waiting for you to talk, and it's not a conversation, it's not like I can say something and then they speak and then I swallow. It's like, oh no, I'm just talking for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long it is. So it makes it a little bit different on stage. Anyways, with that said, on the plane, I felt good. It was an early flight. Flew from Denver to Charlotte. There's no direct flights to Bristol. Doesn't have an airport. It's like the Tri-City area. I think the airport was technically in Blounteville. Blounteville. The Uber was telling me, he's like, they say it Blounteville here. Blounteville. He said it enough. It was weird. He said it, and then it was almost like he wanted me to say it. So we went back like 4 times going Blounteville. Blounteville? Blounteville? Blounteville. And I was like, why am I practicing English with the Uber driver who is, a native English speaker? It felt odd. But it was a pleasant drive. Pretty expensive, but, what can you do? Anyways, flew into Charlotte from Denver, and then from Charlotte to Blounteville. Blounteville was the next flight. And it was the first flight I've taken in a while in a tiny little jet, a tiny little plane. Didn't have propellers, but it was one where you have the two sides. One side is literally just a single seat, and the other side is two seats, and in the middle is the aisle. And dude, it was so tight. Like literally, I'm like 5'9", and I think if you were like 2 inches taller than me or more, you're having to walk through the aisle like crouched down because it was very tight. But I figured it would be like an hour flight or something. It was 22-minute flight. I was like, great, dude. This is awesome. So that was a breeze. Get off from the airport, head to the festival. So it was a festival, it was also a competition, which my kind of first show was, I guess I had a show before the competition at like a little uh, pub type spot, and then after that, um, the competition. So I went and checked in at a hotel. I said, man, I'll tell you this. This is the last festival that I'm gonna do for a while. I'm just gonna, because I did like 10 festivals this year, which was awesome. But you spend a lot of money at these with hotels, flights, food, all the above. And moving forward, I think I'm just gonna apply to kind of the larger, whether it's a big festival or it's maybe there's like a festival in a location or region I haven't visited yet, so maybe that as well. But the hotel was like $200 a night. Um, so I checked in there. I mean, it was nice. I had to work from the hotel, so it was like I want to be comfortable, but also, money is money, and that's a number I don't like to spend on a hotel, especially over 3 nights. But checked into the hotel, went to the show before the competition, then went to the competition Wednesday night. It was a pretty full room. And it was a very fun show. I was a little bummed I didn't do well. Um, and no excuses. Look, I've talked about it before. With competitions, I'm done giving excuses. If you lose, no matter what, just look in the mirror and go, gotta get better. Okay? Have your night to sulk that night and go, boo hoo, woe is me. I'm not funny. And then you wake up the next morning and you go, let's get after it. Okay? Let's write some jokes. Let's be funnier. Let's analyze. Let's break down. Let's figure out how to be funnier. Okay? Step one, get rid of LPR. All right, silent reflux. You're really a pain in my butt. I'm gonna try to nip that in the bud as fast as possible. But it was a pretty full room, and it's a cool little club in the downtown area there. Cool little backdrop. They got a little. It's a cool spot. But the thing is, the setup of the competition. Obviously, there were a lot of locals on it, and I guess maybe that's not obvious, but there were a lot of locals on the show, and the locals brought a lot of people, which is common in competitions. People bring a lot of people, and usually that helps, at the very least, because those people are laughing more at that person's jokes. So you go, okay, well, they're going to be judged a little higher because they got a better audience reaction. But it wasn't just that. The scoring system was there were 3 judges, but also every individual person in the crowd got to got a judge sheet. And then it wasn't like a point system or anything. It was literally just mark number 1 for your favorite comic, number 2 for your second favorite, number 3 for your third favorite. So obviously, like, one person brought like probably like 20-ish people out of 60 or however many were in there. And so, they're all gonna put this guy number 1. It was one of those things where you're like, oh, that's kind of tough. I mean, even like they even gave the people on the show and the comics hanging out, local comics, the score sheet. And so, long story short, I went up toward the end of the show, and I went up and I performed to an audience that was very checked out. And look, again, gotta look myself in the mirror and go, you gotta figure out how to get their attention, how to be better. But when a lot of people are there to see a certain person, and then especially later in the show after that person or those people, they've already seen the person that they're rooting for. I mean, it's kind of funny almost, like performing and being like, these people don't care at all, which is a weird situation, as I've talked about before in the past with competitions, where you're like, I'm here to do this 5 minutes, but obviously this crowd needs a person in the moment to be like, all right, what's going on? What's y'all's deal? Let's rein it back in. But you're like, I just have 5 minutes. I just have to do the jokes. But either way, I didn't feel good about my set. Again, not trying to make excuses, just got to get better. But I was beating myself up a little bit, being bummed out a little bit, but also just being realistic and honest with myself. It's like, look, I've done the set a lot. I know these jokes work well. the crowd was just kind of done. And so get better, but also don't beat yourself up too much because of the circumstances and be like, you're not funny. You're not able to be funny. It's like just gotta keep working. Gotta figure out this throat issue and yeah, keep at it. So I did. That was the competition. They basically had like Monday through Thursday were the prelims, and then Friday was the semifinals, and then Saturday was yesterday the finals. I wasn't there for Saturday. I stayed. Thursday I actually did another show. They had like at a local bar, which was a good time. Then Friday, the semis, I watched those. And then Saturday morning, I rented a car and drove to my parents. Uh, so yeah, would have loved to stay till the end, but just I only had the hotel till Saturday morning and wanted to come spend a couple days with my parents. Went to so yeah, Blue Ridge Comedy Club, Bristol, Tennessee slash Virginia, fun spot. Appreciate all the work they put in to put it together. It was cool. I mean, it feels very similar to where I grew up. As for it's only like 3 hours away, so obviously similar geographic area. But first time visiting Bristol, and it was fun to be there. It was nice to meet the comics. Honestly, a lot of very funny local comedians. Which I only say that because it's a small area, and usually small areas, uh, you just it's you don't have a ton of people around you to learn from, and also a lot of people move if they're very serious about comedy. They'll move out of that city to a bigger scene. But was very impressed with the local scene and the local comedians. Very funny, very nice. Club owner, very funny, very nice. Club owner just released his album. So one of the Friday night was like the semifinals, and then after that he did like an album release party. So it was a cool hang, cool experience. Had a good time. Uh, but glad to just chill for a couple of days with my parents, get comedy off my mind, get my health right, my throat right, even though I feel like I might not be able to fully start the health journey until I get back to Denver, because I'm kind of just like I'm eating healthy, but I'm also not, whatever my mom makes. For the most part, I'm like, all right, I'll eat that. If there's onions or whatever in there, I'm not gonna be like, excuse me, I got in. Yeah, here's another thing I didn't mention. Because of all the diet restrictions that I've been having and putting on myself and been trying to eat as healthy as possible, when I flew in that Wednesday, the first day being there, I did not eat that day. Which I went into it thinking I'm not gonna get in till like 3, and then I don't really want to eat before the competition, because I noticed that before I put all the things together to realize, oh, I think I have the thing that I mentioned, the silent reflux. I'd noticed like after I eat, it seems to make it much worse, my throat. Like I'll be throughout the day kind of like, okay, it's not fully there, and then I'll eat and be like, okay, it's very much present. So I decided not to eat, and then Thursday I ate. I I guess Thursday and Friday, the only meals I ate were at the hotel restaurant. It was like a fancy restaurant, and I was just getting the healthy out. Like for breakfast, I get like eggs and bacon and um an omelet and fruit, and I did that both mornings, and then I ate dinner there one night and got like the salmon, and it's like a little piece of salmon, and I got Brussels sprouts and like butternut squash, and it's like $35 before tip, before tax, for basically half a meal. I'm like, dude, I'm starving. and this is the portion. Ah, so and then the next night I got salmon at another restaurant that was basically the same price and basically the same portion, just barely anything. So I probably spent like $200 on food for like 5 or 6 meals. But what can you do? There weren't any grocery stores within walking distance. I didn't drive the whole Uber. I had to work. I just didn't have time. It's kind of a tough situation. Uh, but yesterday when I drove here, I didn't get breakfast at the hotel. I was like, I'm leaving. Got my rental car at like 11. Drove here. Got here at like 2 p.m. Hadn't eaten all day, and this is kind of something that's been going on. I think another reason that I talked about is like I need to get calories in. I think not eating consistent calories might also be affecting this whole issue that I'm talking about, but I need to be better at that. But I got to my parents' house and immediately I just ate everything. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty hungry right now. I might, if I have time, I think I'm going to have time. I'm going to have time. I'm going to finish this podcast in a couple minutes and I'm going to eat some leftovers. And you know what? It might hurt my throat even more. I don't know. I'm going to go to the store after this, get some of that water, baking powder, baking soda, whatever it is. I'm going to spray myself down, okay? Like I'm a cat that's misbehaving. I'm going to spray myself, be like, cut it out. Cut it out. But that was the festival. The drove up on 81, got to pass my alma mater, the actual school that I went to, not YouTube University, but Radford University. It was the Enterprise gave me like a sports car, and dude, it was so uncomfortable. Who wants these sports cars? You're like, oh, first off, it's the tiniest thing ever. Secondly, I just don't care about the look of the car for the most part, but the way you sit in there is so low and the angle, like, it was so uncomfortable. It's one of those things where I've gotten used to driving for 8, 10, 12 hours in a day for some of these gigs I do. But this car, I mean, I was fidgeting for the 3 hours, like getting cramps in my legs and stuff where I'm like, I can't stretch out. This is terrible. So that was very annoying. And I thought about pulling off and checking out my alma mater, but I was like, dude, I can't. I gotta get home. So I did that. Gotta drop it off today. Dude, it's crazy in America. Like, I had to rent a car. I'm 3 hours away, and had to rent a car. The the there's no like alternative option. Like train is not that big. There wasn't a train option. Buses, there was like a bus route that I could have taken like halfway, and then I could have hopped on a different bus to then get me a little bit further, and then my parents would have had to driven an hour to come pick me up, and it would have been like, okay, I spent 6 hours bouncing around just to not even get to the final destination. It's like, man, when I like, I'm not saying that uh when I lived in Nicaragua, they had buses everywhere and you paid little to none. I mean, a lot of the buses you were standing on, it wasn't comfortable, but it was very cheap and they're constantly running and it's like you can get anywhere you need to easily from a bus. So it is kind of a bummer. Like most of the time I have a car, but sometimes I don't. When I fly in and you're like, if I don't have a car, then I have to rent a car. I have to pay $100 to get 3 hours away. It's kind of wild. I wish it was a little bit different, but what can you do? I wish that my stomach wasn't pushing things back up into my body, you know? Why? Why do our bodies do the things that they do, you know? We'll never know. Maybe one day we'll find out. Maybe when I get my PhD from YouTube University, I'll share with you guys why our bodies do the things that they do. But, I think I've hit about 45 minutes. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. I don't have the little thing that shows me, but I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was about 45 minutes. I'm not 100% sure. But thanks for listening. Thanks for hearing me ramble about stuff. Honestly, leave a comment if you've dealt with either acid reflux or anything silent reflux like I mentioned. Let me know. Would love to know in the comments on YouTube or via Instagram personally. Uh Also, let me know, when were cats domesticated? Genuinely want to know. Want to know your guess. Send me your guess, and then I'll look it up and we'll talk about the real answer. With that said, thanks so much for listening. I'll see you guys again next week.